Hey guys, Jason here. I want to go through some more chart patterns today in a few different intervals. But before we get started, man, what an ugly candle that is on SPY today. That's a huge, huge bear candle. And we know what that means. Obviously, we're going to have bearish sentiment for a lot of our patterns, and we're going to be playing bear patterns today. So that's what we prepared for, and that's what we kept our eye out on. So we're going to start off by looking at Twitter's 5-minute chart. So this is the general unedited chart, and before we get into the patterns on this, I want to show you what we saw early in the day. Let me load that for you. This is what we were looking at. Basically, we were just starting to form up the potential for a symmetrical triangle. All we had were two contact points, here, 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 and really all that does is let you set up what could be a symmetrical triangle. So if I'm right and I connect these two lines, I can do a projection out this way, and I'm going to do the same thing on my red bottoms. I'm going to connect these two dots, run that line out, and that isn't a confirmed pattern yet. That's just what a potential pattern could look like if everything goes according to plan. So I drew that out, and over the course of the next little while, we could see that it went up, tested that resistance, slammed back down, and broke through the support. So we got a confirmation here and a break here, and it followed through, which means this pattern was real. It just didn't get an opportunity to play out completely. And at that point, I'm looking at this 5-minute chart, and I see a 2-bar consolidation after a big 3-bar drop. To me, a 2-bar consolidation is a good setup for another short entry. So what I did was I drew out what potentially could happen on that 2-bar consolidation, and usually you'd see maybe a 1, 2, 3, 4 bar run up and then another drop. Now if we go back to our actual chart here and we turn on our drawing tools, we can see that is pretty much what happened. We got a 2-bar consolidation, and for almost the majority of the day we continue going down and pretty loosely follows the drawing projections here, and we could actually just continue that all the way down. So breaking 1858 all the way to 1792 in a big pattern play, and that was really a nicely drawn one and a good example of how projecting potential patterns can help you get in good setup positions. So the next chart I want to look at is the Netflix 5-minute chart. This one was in a really clear bearish pattern, and it was almost a descending wedge sort of formation here. And again, all I did was try to draw in what could be a descending wedge, connecting a few rough areas, looking for the line of best fit for tops and bottoms. And what we ended up with was a really kind of an ugly break here to the bull side, and we know that SPY is incredibly bearish today. It's really ugly, so any bullish breaks are likely going to be negated. So we see a little bit of a bull rally out of there. It is slapped down over the course of like half an hour. The bulls are not going anywhere, and we end up in this position. And it looks a little bit like a potential for an inverted scallop or an inverted cup and handle pattern, which would basically cause this arc, a little bit of bullish momentum, and then just slam right back down. So if we check our chart, that's essentially what we see. We get that nice bowl shape, a couple candles jumping up, and then it just drops right back down. So you get a potential entry. Let's say you would have entered 9755, potentially could have got in and down, let's say around 9694. That wouldn't have been bad at all. So the next chart I want to look at is the NGAS 5-minute. Around 9 o'clock we saw a big bearish trend, really sort of ending around 10:30, and we entered into a little bit of consolidation. And what I was looking for here was either a bear flag or some sort of triangle that would allow me to find a pattern and enter it. But on the 5-minute chart, it was really, really ugly, and it didn't look like much. So what I'll do in that instance is I'll drill down to the 3-minute. I'll take a look, see what's going on. It's a little bit closer to a pattern, but not quite there yet. And I'll look at the 1 minute and see what we can see. So on the 1 minute, we can see that we have two approximately similar tops and a sloping, an upward sloping support. So when you draw that, you end up with something like this. And I didn't catch the image before it dropped, but you can see that we've connected our bottoms here. We've got a break on the 1 minute, and within 5 minutes, she just drops right back down and bounces up a little bit. And I thought for sure this was going to be a bear flag. So I drew in my channel on the 5 minute, looking like that. And when I'm playing one of these bear flags, you got to keep in mind that it's either going to be a bear flag or it's going to be a channel. And guess what? They're both actually the same thing. So you just draw it like this, and either it's going to break to the downside of that channel or just going to keep on going like any old channel would. And we can see that that's pretty much what happened. We get a slightly upward sloping trend line, we get a break, and we get a bull rally pop. Easy place. So now I want to look at the 5 minute on SPY and just sort of briefly go over how I was watching this thing today. So early on, what I wanted to do is just trying to figure out what's going on with a really, really ugly channel. And just parallel, I'm not really concerned about tops or bottoms. I'm trying to scope out where we are here. And we can see that if this was a true channel, we broke it here. But we have so much bearish pressure on this bearish day that it just slaps it right back down. We go sideways for a little while, and we end up in another little bit of a channel. So if we draw right across the top here, we end up right about there before it breaks again. So again, I'm going to set up a really ugly little channel just to keep an eye on it. And really what I'm doing with this is I'm picking one target and trying to see what agrees with it. So we got a wick that touches here, a wick that touches here. It's a relatively tight trading range, so it works for me. And what we also notice is that we zoom in, we get what really looks like a two contact support. And yes, I did make two contact support up just now. We have two touches, 1, 2, 3, and we give the confirmations. And we draw in what could be a little bit of a resistance line, really loose and ugly. And maybe let's go and look at the 1 minute. So we can see that we are getting a series of lower highs, and our support is staying the same. But ultimately, because it's a bearish day, we have a good inclination that we are going to see a bearish break of that little pattern, and we do see that. Later on in the day, we end up in another triangle formation where we find ourselves with lower highs, steady lows, tightening range, pattern break, into a dump. So all day it was basically this. We get a small channel, we get maybe a bullish break here, it is slapped down. Sideways, downside channel, triangle, bearish break, triangle, bearish break. And a series of those, as you know, really destroyed the bulls today. It was not a pretty sight, not a good time to be a bull. It will be very interesting to see what happens on Monday.